All right. Hello, everybody. Once again, welcome back to our Meet the Vendor series, where we get to meet all the exciting Atlassian Marketplace vendors from all over the world. And today we've got Morgan, who's in Seattle from Old Street Solutions, and she's going to be talking to us about custom charts for Jira. So welcome along. Thanks for joining us at
Great, thanks
this
for
time
having
of
me.
the day for you.
Yes.
You're very much welcome. So yeah, tell us all about custom charts for Jira.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. Okay, let me share my screen real quick just so you can look at a small version of my face while you're watching a large version of my face talk. Cool. So Custom Charts is a dashboard reporting app for Jira and Confluence. It's technically two different apps. There's Custom Charts for Jira and Custom Charts for Confluence. It's our sort of flagship app here at Old Street Solutions. Really the focus is just like reporting that everyone can use in Jira. So I'm the product manager for Custom Charts. I've been part of the team. I joined the team this year after spending the last few years sort of around the Atlassian ecosystem as a consultant with a solution partner, and then sort of shifting into the marketplace side this year. So today I'll just walk through a few slides, sort of give a high level overview, and then actually dig into the tool because I think that's the interesting part.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So custom charts, pretty straightforward. I would say if there's like nothing else today from this chat that anybody gets from it, this slide is the one to look at. So really custom charts is focused around two things. So the goal is that we have easy to use reporting that looks good. So there's a million different reporting options in Jira and Confluence, from like out of the box options to your like really big advanced data tools like Tableau or EasyBI. But what we wanted to do was build a tool for like the 95% of your users who aren't developers and may not even be familiar with Jira at all, but like whose bosses are still asking for them for reports on what they're doing in Jira. So that's our sweet spot. So as I walk through today, I'll mention that probably like a dozen more times. That the goal is that it's simple and easy to use and looks nice. But that's what we're going for here. So everything that we build in the app is with that in mind, with that we want it to be powerful, but more than anything, something that anybody can just pick up and, build a chart today in, the next 3 minutes without ever having seen the tool before.
Yeah, that's important.
Yes. Yeah. Especially reporting is like such a deep hole you can go down. And like some of the big tools, you can do basically anything with it, just like any report your heart wants or your boss asks, but it may take you like 3 months to learn how to build it.
That's right. Or wait for some other team to build it for you. And
Yes.
you've got a burning question, so why not build a chart?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Cool. So I think this next slide is like an illustration of of sort of why just the out of the box reporting isn't enough. So this is my very favorite chart to pull up, which is it's just like a basic project status using a custom RAG field. So it's a red, amber, green. Using the out of the box pie chart, you select, your filter and you select your field, and that's it. And it just sort of it guesses at what else you want it to do. And you get a lovely chart that looks like this, where you have green is blue and amber is red and red is amber. And looking at this, it's to me kind of useless.
A tad counterintuitive, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And you just gotta like hope that it guesses right, and it's never going to. So then we've got custom charts with a similar chart. So as I'll walk through, you can do things like customize colors, you can drag and drop to reorder, you can add descriptions. So there's some extra flavor there. So really just like generally looks a lot nicer. And this chart, including copying and pasting this message into the description, took the same amount of time to build as this did. So with that, let's get to the fun part. That is actually seeing the tool. So what I've got here today is, let me update my Zoom here. So this is actually our support dashboard that we use for our service desk. It's all custom charts, plus some other things that come with custom charts that I'll talk a little bit about. But really, again, the idea is that like, you know what it does. It looks clean. It doesn't have that dated look that some of the out of the box gadgets do. And all of these charts are created from a single gadget. So you add, one custom charts gadget to your dashboard, and then you can select the different chart types. You don't have to know beforehand what kind of report you're looking to build. You can just sort of figure it out along the way. And you can do things like dark mode on your gadgets, customize colors, all that fun stuff. Yeah, so this is just some examples. The best part about this dashboard is this gadget up here in the top left, which comes with custom charts and is called Simple Search. So what this gadget is basically a dynamic filter for your custom charts. So if I take this, for example, and let's say we only want to look at support tickets that are about cloud, I will select from that app hosting dropdown, which is a field that folks fill out in the support portal. Search, and you'll notice all of my charts are refreshing and filtering down to only issues with that field value.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Simple Search. It's one of my favorite parts of the app, mostly because, again, like if the goal is reporting for the majority, this is a great way to get people to interact with a dashboard who have no idea about anything in Jira. You don't have to know anything to go to a dropdown and say, I want this to be assigned to me,
Yeah, as long as you've got some concept about your job, you're going to know what you're kind of looking for.
Yeah, that's the goal. And you can set presets as to like what's pre-filtered. You can even, we've got multiple tabs here. So I've got, these are only looking at custom charts, none of our other apps. And it's just like automatically got a preset configuration that filters the dashboard down. So with, yeah, right.
We see teams struggle with reporting, it's and yeah, I think there is that contention between the onboard stuff and the high-end things like Easy BI, where the questions aren't that complex, and typically your end user isn't necessarily going to want to interact with an Easy BI report if they're going to want to drill down. And here it is,
right.
Being busy we get it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I in my former life had to build Easy BI reports, and they eventually they were great, but it's a bit of a learning curve. But yeah, or you've got sort of that I think we've in our marketing materials called it like the data overlord, like the one person who knows how to build and maintain the reports that is that like really extreme bottleneck for getting any kind of anything out of it.
Yeah, and that reduces your timeliness. So yeah, you look in a report, you got questions, you might want to really dig down and build your own dashboard to really understand something that's actually going on. So you can go and present to your management and say, hey, here's another insight. What do you think? And yeah, if you can knock it out in an hour before the meeting, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, right. And I've found that when folks don't have like a reporting tool that they can easily understand, they'll just export it to Excel and do something there. Like that's what's happening for the folks who can't wait the time for somebody to build. You just export it to Excel and figure it out on your own.
Yes, not the best use of our time.
Certainly not. No. Yeah, whether we could go all the way down that rabbit hole and the data silos and all that fun stuff, but preferably you could just use something that's in Jira. So the next thing that I've got here, this is our playground. This is on our website. It's pretty cool. You can sort of play around with custom charts without having to install it in your instance. But I'm going to use this to sort of dig into the configuration of some. We've got some similar gadgets here. One thing to note that I don't think I've mentioned yet, our playground is a server instance, but custom charts is available cloud server data center, the whole gamut, and is just about identical across the three. So we're gonna switch from cloud to server as we move through here. But as we jump into, let's use this Agile board summary as an example. May need to refresh the page. It's been, well, it's too late now. Committed. Okay, Cool. So what we've got here, let's simplify it real quick from what we started with. So what we've got here is the custom charts editor. Again, it looks the same everywhere. You'll find it, Jira, Confluence, Cloud Server, all that. But it's pretty basic. Creating a new chart is you could make two decisions and then you've got something. So really the foundation of the chart is the source. So this is where you can choose a saved filter or a project, just like you can in the native gadgets. Or if you want, you can just write the JQL right here, like directly in the gadget, which is nice if you're someone who is familiar with JQL. If you're not, you never have to see it and can just, select the projects that you want to see. Or you can connect to simple search, like I described before, where basically you just connect each individual gadget to that filter, and then the filtering and the source happens all at that top level. But for now, let's go save filters. Back to this. So we've selected our source, and then the next thing you really care about then is the chart by. So this is going to be what your chart is by. So we've got status here. We can see a few things. It's just like a basic 1D bar chart. If I click on it, it drills into the issues and pulls up the issue navigator like you would expect it to. Within the sort of editor here, we can do a lot of just like basic customization. So we can see here, we do have some statuses that have already been combined. So you can see like done and resolved, we're looped into just one bar here. If I want to take it a step further, and this is something I feel like a pretty common use case, the millions of done statuses. So like done, resolved, closed. If you're not standardized, you're going to have to deal with a report that's got all of those.
Well, that's another conversation. We talk a lot about standardization and best practice across the organization, and yeah, having a clarity around our definition of done. But yeah, it's not everyone's luxury. So
yes, and always something to work towards, but it's a process getting there, especially if you're starting with like an established instance. So you can kind of get around like that intermediary period where you're like on the way to standardization, but you still need to do status reports. So I could do something like this, and I can actually rename it so it just reads done. So the chart is clean. I've got the, like, even if the data is messy, sort of on the back end, I've combined it in a way that's really clean. You do other things here, like if I, let's say, didn't want to see blocked issues, I don't care about that in that report, I could just hide that entirely. Do things like that. You can also change the colors, customize how that looks directly on the chart there. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do just like in the UI, which is really nice. If you want to take it a step further, so the chart that this actually was when we got to this page was actually a two-dimensional chart, which is allowed, and just I keep on collapsing this, but just for some context, these are all the different chart types that are available, and you can just click through to see how the data looks in sort of the different components here. Which I find really nice because when I'm building reports, I tend to start with like the data that I want to see, and then I just click, yes, no, that sort of thing.
It makes it so easy just to, what's going to visually tell the story that in the most effective way.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like pie chart is like, well, it's nice, it's what people are used to, but like I can't tell that this is really substantially bigger than this. And so the bars are nice for this. We'll switch to a 2D chart and we'll search, and now what we see is we can add another dimension to the chart here. So pretty basic, it's the same, you just select from custom fields or system fields in your instance. You can also do JQL. I'll show some examples of that later. And this as far as like fields here, compatible with just about all of the like major add-ons in the marketplace. If you're using like advanced roadmaps, you can pull in those fields for most of them, and any apps that we're like not yet compatible with, all we need is somebody to ask us to do it, and we build those integrations pretty regularly. So now we've got a chart that's like a little more interesting. So we still have those statuses combined and sort of played around with, but now I can see it by user. So this gives us, if we're looking at like an Agile board summary, which is what we've got this tab called, we can see the breakdown of work across the different folks on the team. You can get kind of like a board view on a dashboard, which is cool, but you can take it a step further. So we're looking at issue count. So by default, all of the charts are going to show just like the number of issues. But you can calculate by different number fields in your instance. So we'll use story points as an example here. So now instead of showing how many issues each person is assigned to in each status, it's going to show us how many story points each person has in each status, which similar, but can tell a very different story. As we see here, we got Van Helsing is a little bit overloaded in the backlog, but not working on anything right now. So the calculate options, you can do sums and you can do averages if you want to see that as well. Again, of just about any number field, including some like scripted fields and things added from add-ons as well. Yeah, so that's, let's see, story points by assignee.
A lot of options.
I know. Yeah. And so that's part of it too, is that like you can get fairly complex. I mean, I couldn't build an easy BI like, you know, in really intense burn down, but I don't know, I can get a board report and look at the story points, which is cool.
And if you do have a question, you are going to get it solved.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So that's sort of the basics of the app. We have introduced recently some new filters that allow us to, we'll see if the data is good enough here, to have multiple sort of calculations. So on certain chart types. So if I went to a pie chart here, for example, you know, I'm showing average story points per status. If I go to this next tab over here, again, ignore all of those little options, and add another column. So if I wanted to see story points next to issues, I can see that as well. We can hide our percents, even take it a step further and see if there's any estimated issues here. Look at original next to remaining, and you can see just like a really intense view of all of the things that you might care about on these issues.
Yeah, it's different with, I guess, report. What is it? Power consumers who, yeah, like to have very rich reports, and then certain personalities prefer something a little bit simpler.
Yep.
But yeah, sometimes you need the detail.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So let's see, we've got that. You can also do things with JQL. So if you don't have a specific field in your environment that sort of does what you need it to do, you can instead just chart by JQL and do any JQL that's available in your instance. So that's going to include, like, if you're on server data center and you have script runner and you've got all those extra like JQL functions, you can do all of those in here too. Give it a nice name so they don't have to look at the sort of nasty JQL, and then you can have something that's really dynamic.
Awesome. Yeah.
Sort of the basic chart functionality. We did recently add a templates feature. So this lets you save charts and reuse them later, or save them for other folks in your organization to reuse. So we ship with some example templates here, and you can see you can save charts as a template for yourself to come back to, which is nice, and it loads the whole chart. So if I pull this created versus resolved, you just hit use template. It pre-populates all of the options. All I have to do is select my project. They probably don't have anything created in the past 30 days here. But if we there we go, broaden this. I'll put it years. We can see maybe months. A little bit more interesting.
Demo environments, yes, we understand.
Yeah. Something like doing a created versus resolved on some stale data, right? But there we go. If we do quarters for all of history, we can get something that looks a little bit more like a created resolved chart that's like actually useful. Yeah, so that's custom charts. Again, it works basically the same in Confluence. There's like one or two features that are Confluence specific, like the ability to add user impersonation, which lets you basically gives you the ability to save charts as a specific user so that folks who are potentially unlicensed in Jira could still see like a created versus resolved chart of those Jira projects. You can disable click through regardless whether they click on any links. They won't be able to see issues they don't have permission to see, like you can't drill down into it, but you can get like a high level report, which is like a nice secure way to share information with folks who may just like straight up not have Jira access, but do have Confluence access.
That's cool.
And we do have a Confluence sandbox here too. It's an extra like 3 clicks to open it. So I won't drill into that, but again, the editor is the same basically everywhere. But yeah, that's custom charts.
Oh, that's fantastic, Morgan, because yeah, I can really see how it fits that middle ground, where it really, I think it's probably a lot more empowering to the team, you know, to be able to make sure that these tools are in hand. So if there is, you know, you do need to think on your feet or need to drill a bit deeper and timeliness, you know, about that type of thing. You know, do you have the tools in hand to be able to tell the story when you want to bring it to the team? So
yeah, exactly. And we're growing, the tool is growing pretty rapidly now. Our team is growing, so is the tool. But we've also got like a public roadmap that's available in our documentation, so you can see all of the features that we're working on right now and what's coming up in the app. Including some cool things like we can see here, like support for insight, custom field, something that's not quite there yet. But so we've got this available to everyone, so you can see sort of what's coming in custom charts. I think there's going to be a lot of that.
Yeah, well, there's certainly a lot going on in the field, isn't there, with all these applications being developed? Yeah, at 100 miles an hour. So it's always very interesting for everybody to keep up with. Yeah, thanks very much, Morgan, for taking the time. And perhaps, yeah, do you want to just give us a quick shout out and how we can reach out to you if anyone's got any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So custom charts is available on the marketplace. You can search for custom charts. You can also reach out to us directly, support@oldstreetsolutions.com. That'll send you to our service desk, and I'll get my eyes on the ticket. But we love helping folks with not only like your technical questions, but also like, hey, I need to build this kind of chart. How do I do that? And we're happy to sort of walk through that with anybody who asks. So yeah, that's the best place to get us, support@oldstreetsolutions.com. And then you can check custom charts out on the marketplace. Great,
thanks very much. And obviously, of course, you can contact Design Industries if you've got any questions as well. And yeah, we're a bit, what's the word? We like our reporting, shall we say. So we certainly enjoy using these tools and yeah, and generating insights for teams because they can make better decisions, because that's what it's all about. So thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you have a lovely day, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you again on the next Meet the Webinar series. Cheers.
Great, thanks for having me.